whole life changed in about a blink of a second. They had a gun in their hand. Since I was the closest one to him when he shot it, it hit me. He was a family friend, older guy. He's like, not too much people face death and live. I started living that way.
Today's guest is a certified powerhouse on and off the platform. Garrison Redd is a Team USA Paralympian, elite powerlifter, adaptive climber, TEDx speaker, author, community leader, and the founder of apparel brand built for a purpose. Before we get too far, feel free to like this video if you're into stories of overcoming, healing, and growth. If you find value here, please hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. After a life-changing gunshot wound, Garrison didn't just bounce back. He broke barriers. From the gym to the global stage, his journey is all about grit, mindset, and lifting up others. Let's get into it. Garrison, man, I see your videos online. You're just incredible. But before we jump into the whole podcast, one, thank you for being here. You're just an incredible guy. I feel honored to sit down with you. And two, I saw this video of you doing pull-ups in your wheelchair with you strapped in there, and my jaw hit the ground, bro. I was like, how? I shouldn't admit this online, but I don't know if I could do a pull-up myself. And to see you doing it with the whole wheelchair is inspiring, man. You are incredible.
Thanks, man. Thanks. And I love everything that you're doing as well. And I'm going to tell you a funny story how I started actually doing pull-ups with the wheelchair. I used to go to the park. I used to do pull-ups regularly. I used to, just get out of my chair, do some pull-ups. And then I was in a calisthenic competition. And at the calisthenic competition, one of the older members was like, he's cheating because I think his legs weigh less and he should do it with the chair.
Wow.
So being that I was doing 40 to 50 and beating everybody, they forced me to use the chair. And that's the crazy thing. The disabled guy ends up they claim had the advantage.
Yeah.
So, but whatever is
amazing. Yeah. Hey, well, I mean, I feel like that silences the haters right there. You're like, well, it does got which seems like it's extra weight now.
It's extra weight, and but if they whatever option someone wants to give me, I'm always willing to take that challenge.
That's incredible, man. So let's go there. You had this crazy thing that happened to you, but you are where you are right now. Can we go back to that start? Yeah.
Let's go back to day one. Let's go back. So growing up, I grew up in a wonderful household. Both my parents worked. They was there. I'm an only child. So I was pretty much I guess a little spoiled with I would get, pretty much anything I wanted as long as my grades was good. And if I excelled in sports, that was even better. So it was it's a win-win. So I played a lot of sports growing up: baseball, basketball, football. Football was my primary sport. Once I got into high school, that's the sport I mostly focused on. So everything else was pretty much designed around football. So football came first, and whatever other sport is to assist football.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think I saw you you played running back and safety, right?
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Running back in safety for James Madison High School.
There you go. You pretty much fast. You were fast then.
Yeah, and I was pretty strong also. So I never came off the field for the most part. So growing up, I played tons of sports. I excelled in school. I have the ability to retain information. I was pretty popular throughout my childhood, especially with different schools I went to, things of that nature. I always was the captain of the football team, things of that nature.
Wow.
And then, life was great. Life was pretty much as any ordinary child growing up would want it to be. You're a good athlete. You're about to prepare, going into your senior year of high school. So you're about to prepare for college. And on August 14th, 2005, my whole life changed in about a blink of a second. I was outside with my friends. We were just chilling. We was getting ready for a Dorney Park bus ride the following day that my mother was hosting for us, just to give us something to do in the summer. I grew up in one of the rougher sections of Brooklyn. I grew up in the Brownsville section of Brooklyn, so it's pretty tough. However, I didn't see it that way. Like at that time as a kid, growing
Right.
up, these are just the neighborhood I live in, the community I come from, and it is what it is. Like it's no
Yeah.
different than anywhere else in America. But
Yeah, I hear you. People will be like,
yeah,
"Oh, what's it like growing up in Hawaii?" I'm like, "I don't know how it's different, but that's where I grew up. Like, that's just how I
yeah,
live." Yeah. So
it's just how I
I
grew
feel
up,
that.
and I was outside. And on that night, a person came out. They had a gun in their hand. They started asking myself and my friends a few questions. And then next thing you know, he pulls out the gun. And since I was the closest one to him, when he shot it, it hit me. I remember falling to the ground on my knees. And then when I like twisted, I just went to my back, and it was a heat sensation that was unbearable. I wouldn't wish on anyone. It felt like I was, if 100 degrees is hot, I think my body felt like it was 200 degrees at the
Yeah.
moment. And a bullet hit me in my lower back. It didn't hit my spine, but the angle that it entered my body at, it burnt the nerves around my spinal cord. So it entered on my right side, right above my hip, and it was lodged underneath my left armpit. So
Wow.
it
It came up.
traveled throughout my body.
Oh my god. Like, what a crazy angle too.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just like, like a weird angle. It's just one of those things, like everybody with a spinal cord injury, I think have a 2-minute story of how if they was in one place instead of this place, this probably wouldn't have occurred or for that, split second. It's just like fate a
Y-
lot of times.
Yeah. This happened. What's the first thought you have?
During a moment, the first thought was just staying alive, like not panicking, all of those things you hear to try to do when you're going through a traumatic experience, all the stuff they tell you, like don't tense up and all of that. You're just trying to stay as calm as possible. At the moment, I'm just trying to breathe. And it felt like an eternity. So it might have felt like, I don't know, about 10, 15 minutes. In actuality, it probably was only about 3 to 4 minutes from the time I got shot to the time the police arrived. I don't think it was longer than 10 minutes. But backtracking, um, that whole week, I had a funny feeling that something bad was going to happen. Like something just was off the whole week prior. So, believe it or not, I didn't play basketball because it was in the summer. So, I didn't play any basketball that week. Cause I'm like, I'm going to break a leg or I'm going to sprain an ankle. Something's going to prevent me from going on the bus ride to Dorney Park, which is an amusement park,
Oh,
that we was going on that Sunday. So with
yeah.
that said, I'm like, all right, I'm just not gonna do nothing. So when the incident occurred Saturday night, it was like just crazy. Like I tried to avoid anything possible that would put me at risk of being injured. So
Right.
that way I could go to amusement park on that particular Sunday. And then it was actually Sunday morning. It was like 12:15 that morning is when the shooting occurred.
Oh my god, man, and in the middle of the day. Yeah, isn't it crazy, like, that feeling, I know what you're talking about because, like, on paper, when I'm looking at everything I've talked about this before on the show, but it's
Yeah.
like, it all looked fine, but there was this feeling I had too where I'm like, "Something just feels off," and I don't know what that is, like, I don't know, it's like, there's moments I've had maybe similar feelings in my life, but nothing that bad happened.
That extreme, not that extreme. So I'm like the broken leg and things of that nature.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
extreme as it would come, and I didn't think it could be anything more extreme than that level. But that whole week, like I avoided doing things, and that's not like me.
It's like a spider sense though, like almost like Spider-Man, like you just kind of feel like something and then yeah, and then this crazy thing happens to you. I'm guessing to get you to the hospital. Are you
Yeah.
conscious at this time? Are they
Well,
putting
I
you
was
under?
conscious. So I was conscious all up until the paramedics came and put the oxygen on my face.
Yeah.
But I was conscious up until then because I actually instructed the police that if they could contact my mother, because I lived right across the street from where the shooting occurred. Like I always tell people, they was like, maybe you was at the wrong place, wrong time. Like I'm in my neighborhood. I'm right across the street from my house. There's no other right place. It's just that society have an issue with guns and the people that's using guns, you know, that's an issue in itself. So it's way bigger than me. But yeah, that whole week it was just weird. Something was off, and when that occurred, like I told people, like usually on a Saturday, I would have driven somewhere because I had just got my license not too long ago. And my parents both had cars. My father had two cars at the time. My mother had one car. But my mother's car wasn't there. I think it was like in a shop that particular day. And my father left his manual car, and I couldn't drive stick at the time. So I didn't have no clue what to do with that car. So it was like, it just was a weird series of events, but it is what it is.
I mean, it's amazing, man. I feel you too. Like, yeah, the last thing I remember is getting wheeled in the hospital, and then I was out. I've already, again, I've said this before. Like, I was kind of out for about a month and a half. But the
Okay.
second I woke up was like just shock. I already knew like my world had changed. Is this something that you kind of felt too? Like, once you were kind of back and conscious again, what's one of the first thoughts that you had?
All right. So right before I got boarded the ambulance, I remember I couldn't feel my legs. And that's what I said. Like I was able to shout, I can't feel my legs. And I remember getting the ambulance, and I don't remember much after that because I was like out for like a whole day. I woke up, I see all of these tubes. I thought I was dreaming, so I just went back to sleep. That's the first thing I did. I closed my eyes again. I said, "This can't be real. I must be in a twilight zone right now," or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But like I said before, I told people before, like even I tell people that's newly injured, those minutes start to become hours, those hours start to become days, those days start to become weeks, and before you know it, you're 6 months, and I haven't stood up on my own. 6 months then went by, and then
Yeah.
it slowly starts to set in because you do hear about a few success stories, like a person injured their spinal cord, but they're back up walking,
Yeah.
maybe with a mobility device or something of that nature. But then you hear about the masses where, like, 90% of the individuals do not make a recovery where they're able to ambulate on their own, or, you know, with the return of the motor function that they're lost.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't get that return. So it's like, but you still hope for, like, I guess that 10%. You're like, I'm gonna be in that 10%. I don't know what day it's gonna be or but
Right.
I'm gonna
Right.
get up one day. But at the same time, you might not accept it right away. So like a lot of people, I was one of those people that didn't accept it. Like, I'm gonna be the one to walk out of here. But you do have to adapt because you start to realize, like, you're fighting against time. Time is not gonna stop against nobody. You have to get back to your life. So at some point you realize if it took you, like, I don't know, 7 months just to move your thigh a little bit or just to engage the muscle for a flicker,
Yeah.
it might not even be substantial. You start to think, like, how long is it going to really take for me to stand on my own? That could
Yeah.
be 10, 15 years. And
Yeah, man.
unfortunately, I don't have 10, 15 years to just, focus on rehab. I was 17. I have to go to college. I
Yeah.
have a whole life ahead of me that I didn't want, and my parents didn't want me to stay stuck and let this injury consume me, being that, I have a whole life ahead of me.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, man, because I think it's amazing. And I think it's amazing perspective that so many of us could use in our life, right? But what are some of the thoughts that are going on in that 7 month span, as you're realizing, like, I might not be able to walk again? But I'll tell you, I mean, straight up for me, it was just like my life's over. I was like, I lost everything. I lost, I'm never going to be able to do anything great again. I'm never going to do anything cool again. Like, I'm never going to be able to play like the sports I want, or all these things. Right. And I just got into a very dark place.
Nah, same here. Yeah, me too, bro. I was in a dark place for at least the first 6 to 7 months. I was in a rehab hospital for a total of 11 months. So that was
Wow.
almost a year. But you got to remember, I came from playing football. Like on August 13th, August 12th, I was lifting weights, squatting 400 pounds, bench pressing 315 pounds. And then
Whoa.
August 17th, August 18th, I could barely breathe. I have a chest tube. I can't eat on my own.
Yeah, it's like the craziest thing being like super capable and then the next second like not being capable at all, right? It's like I
Yeah.
can't it's just the hardest thing to wrap your brain around, right?
Yeah, to come to terms with. Like, it's really hard to come to terms because you are this big, strong person. And then, everybody has a different time, like when they wake up out of, if they was in a coma, whatever the case is. But then you look at yourself in the mirror that first time. And I remember looking at myself in a rehab that first time. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like I must have lost at least 50 pounds in a course of 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, like this is not you. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
it is. Yeah, it is. It's just like it's kind of like an out of body experience, even though you're like
It
trapped in your
is.
body, like, but you
Yep.
look at the body and you feel it and you're like, this isn't me. And then for you, what are you saying to yourself? Like, what is your internal thoughts? Like the body's not working out. You look different. I want to start there, but then I want to start talking about how you start changing your mindset and you start changing your thoughts.
Yeah, now so that was a process in itself. I had to change my mindset. So my mom gave me a pretty much a option. She's like, while you're in this rehab, you're gonna learn to be as independent as possible because this is a cruel world. I don't want anybody taking care of you. I'm here now, but I might not be here forever. People don't live forever.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's true.
Yep.
So your father and I is going to help you towards your independence. If you are able to walk out of here, good. But if you're not, life's still going to go on. You're going to adapt to what you're able to do and you're going to move forward and persevere from there. And once you're out of the rehab, you got 6 months to decide whether you want to go to school or do you want to go to work.
How did it feel
Huh?
hearing that from her? Like, did it feel comforting? Did it feel like, damn, this is rough? Like, how did you feel at that moment when you're hearing this?
I didn't have much emotion, but now I had a goal. I didn't have much
Mm,
emotion, but I had a goal.
all
So I
right.
knew that I have a goal somewhere that I have to get to, but I have to get there as comfortable as possible. And the only way I could be as comfortable as possible in school is if I'm as independent as possible.
Yeah.
So it changed the dynamic. So for certain things that you don't want to do with living with a spinal cord injury in the beginning, like a bowel routine or a bladder routine, whatever the case is,
Mhm.
um, then you start to adapt and you're like, all right, if this is the only way I can use the bathroom successfully so I don't have accidents, then F it. This is what I gotta do. And this is the only thing that I'll be comfortable with going outside. I'm not gonna go outside if I'm having accidents on myself. That's
Yeah.
embarrassing. I don't want to be embarrassed. I
Right.
have the
Right.
chair to live with. That's already, a complex that I have to fight on my own. I don't want any other complexes because of this injuries.
Right.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get as independent as possible, get as strong as possible, so that way, when I get out the hospital, I could possibly learn how to drive again and things of that nature, which would contribute towards my independence and contribute towards me getting back to school and being comfortable with going to school. So I did the 11 months in rehab, but when I came home, I was pretty much able to do everything on my own. I could,
Wow.
I was able to take the train, whatever you name it. I was doing that on my own by the
Yeah.
time I left rehab,
That's
which is
incredible, bro.
difficult.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
so difficult, and you're killing it. And talk about strong. Like you're strong as hell now. Like you're stronger than
yeah, yeah,
most like fully able-bodied people,
yeah,
Definitely stronger
for
than me.
real.
There's no doubt about that. But I just want to tap into I want to tap into your mindset, because it's so easy. I think for a lot of people, I see it in people who seemingly like they have all the physical capability. They're like, they have great jobs, they got great support systems, but their mindset keeps telling them you can't do it, or this isn't going to work out, or you're not going to have the ability to do it. But it's like you, with all these obstacles, are now able to not just get out of it, but like thrive. So, can you give me a little taste of like what you're telling yourself? Like, obviously, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but maybe the thoughts are
Yeah.
like, man, this is the worst thing that ever happened to you. You're never going to be great again. You're never going to be doing this. How do you start changing those thoughts? And what do you start telling yourself when you look in the
Well,
mirror to get out of that?
it's funny. One of the things that motivated me is when other individuals in wheelchairs would or with spinal cord injuries would come visit me. And I got injured back in 2005. So it wasn't much social media. I think MySpace was the only thing that was really like popping at the time. But
Yeah.
other than that, it wasn't much for us. It wasn't much opportunity for a person to see another person that used a wheelchair
Yeah.
as a part of their daily life. So mentors would come, and the mentors that would come see me, they didn't have the same vision as that I did. So like at that time, they was more based on you're just gonna hang with wheelchair users. And I'm like, nah, this is a big world. It's just not wheelchair users and their parents. They're like, you might not get a hot girlfriend or something like that. I'm like, what? Like, that's me here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everything y'all telling me is wrong. Like, what y'all telling me is not motivating me at all.
Right.
But if that's how people are living, I'm going to show people there's another way to live. You could live a happy life. You could still attain all the things that you aspire to attain prior to your injury. It might look a little different. You might have to go about it a little different, but it's gonna work out. And so I started building my self-confidence, I guess. Like during that time, I started building my self-confidence once I got comfortable with like handling all my necessities that I need to just get outside. The next step was going outside. Like you got to go outside. You got to get out in the community. You got to see how people react. You have to learn how people's going to react so you
Yeah.
could be prepared for just about every scenario or how to adapt towards certain scenarios. And through me going outside, I started to realize that the world isn't a terrible place. There's a lot of shitty people in the world, but it isn't a terrible place. Like there's a lot of good people and there's a lot of genuine people out here. And through your testimony, it can inspire them to be a better person or to help someone else or to give you a helping hand or to want to give you a helping hand just by seeing what you go through. And like
Yeah.
that's when I started realizing, a lot of times, people thought I would have difficulties opening the door. They'll see me open the door and they're like, wow, now I could tell my little cousin or a nephew of mine who hasn't went outside in 3, 4, 5, 6 years after their injury, that there's a guy out here is wheeling around on his own and opening up doors to go into stores by himself. And, those little instances that people think maybe you can't do, you showing them that you can. And then
Yeah.
that's, I guess, was like my turnaround, just proving certain things that I thought I wouldn't be able to do or couldn't do, adapting and figuring out how to do and then doing it. And then it's like, all right, I did this. And
Yeah.
then I started to get responses from others. Like when I was in college, I was the man on campus. Like
All right.
I went from a
All right.
3.8 GPA to a 1.7 GPA and was on academic probation my second semester because my friends realized that the wheelchair was like the chick magnet, they would call it. And
That's
they made
funny.
sure I went to every club, whether it had stairs, if it was 3 flights, 4 flights, it didn't matter.
All
They made
right.
sure I had to come. So I would go out and come home at like 5, 6 in the morning, then go to class for 8 in the morning type thing.
That's
And that's
amazing,
pretty
man.
much was the adjustment like that.
Yeah.
Now you're back into the world. And
Yeah, man, I'm amazed by that because you're
yeah,
right. Because of my injuries and just like trying to put my face back together, there were so many parts of like when you were talking about looking in the mirror, I completely understand because the first time I saw myself in the mirror, I like broke down. I was like, who is that guy? I didn't,
exactly.
I didn't think I was like the best looking guy ever, but I was like, okay, I like the way I look. And then to change that, I
Yeah.
was like, whoa, how do I do this? But you're right. That's another step, getting back out in the world and then just seeing how the world then interacts with you. And I don't know about you, but I chose to show up with a little bit more bravery because I'm like, what do I have to lose? You know what I mean? It's like I already felt like I lost everything. Why do I have to lose? Like I'm just gonna show up the way I
Same.
want to be.
And it's funny you said that because a good friend of mine, when I was in the hospital, he was a family friend, older guy, and he came and told me these key words. I still to this day never forgot. He said, "You already died once, almost died once. That's not going to happen again. You don't ever have to worry about dying again." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You don't got to worry about it." Like he's like, "Not too much people face death and live, so like you don't have to ever worry about that. It would be a
Yeah,
crazy instances like if that occurred again." But he's
for
like,
for
"Don't you
real.
could go through the rest of your life and not have a worry." And I started living that way.
Yeah, amazing. It's like you'd be the most unlucky but kind of lucky person that it could just keep, it happened twice. Lightning doesn't strike
Yeah,
twice, right? So,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It shouldn't. It
it
shouldn't.
shouldn't.
But
For real.
but yeah, when he told me that, and it just changed my perspective on like life. Like, all right, you don't have certain worries that other people may have later down the line, or you don't have that. Then I was like, in the hospital, I'm like, if I could beat this, and overcome and somehow persevere through this, then my resiliency is going to go through the roof. And what there's nothing in the world I would think I can't accomplish.
Man, yeah. Man, I'm blown away by it. I love that mentality. I can relate to it a ton. The other thing that sticks
Yeah,
out to me is how your friends, the homies that would like bring you around places and like the support, man. It seems like not
yeah,
only was your family a great support, but you had these friends that were just amazing and were like, yeah, but I think that speaks to your personality. And I
yeah,
also think
yeah.
that speaks to the people you attract. But like, let's talk about the support system outside of just family.
So like the friends I was outside with the day that I got shot. Like most of them wasn't there. Like for like the hospital duration, the 11 months that I was in the hospital.
Man,
Um, so I
damn.
felt the kind of way. Even like my best friend, he actually passed away like a few months after I got out the hospital from a car crash.
Oh
But
my
like
God.
we had stopped talking completely, and we was friends from 6 to 17. Like close friends. Like
Yeah.
our parents like knew each other from kids as well. So we had a bond. But like, after my injury occurred, it just wasn't the same.
Mhm.
And then we stopped talking. And then from there, a couple of months later, he passed away in a car crash. And then you start to put things in like retrospect, like maybe I was supposed to be in that car with him. We drove everywhere together. Like wherever he went, I went. And whether and vice versa, wherever I went, he went. And it was like that. So it was like, remember we used to steal our parents' cars, like take the keys off the counter at night and just go for joyrides. And like a
Mhm.
lot of that stuff they found out when I was in a hospital because he's like, wow, I don't got nobody to joyride with anymore. My buddy is in the hospital. And then, you know, through different things, we just stopped talking. And then when he passed away, it was like, wow, like life is short. So is life really that short to stop talking to someone that you was friends with, for all your life up until then, over, he's a kid, I'm a kid. When I got shot, I was 17, he's still a kid. So like what I'm really mad at him for, like I don't
Right.
know what I'm really mad. Maybe he didn't come and visit me as much, but hey, everybody has a life, and they're doing things. I never asked him, how did this affect him, or anything like
Right.
that. It might have had an effect on him, but
Definitely
needless
did.
to say, like the rest of the people, like I stopped talking to completely just because it was relationships that wasn't going to benefit me anyway. And then when I went to college, I met a whole new group of friends like instantly that knew me for being in the wheelchair, which is different.
Yeah.
It's a different feel. They never, saw me walk or play football. A lot of them, even though a few of them I retain. Like I have a good friend at one point, Travis. He, was my boy, and things of that nature. And
Yeah.
I knew him, prior to my injury, and we did mad stuff after. But most people didn't really know me for walking or running, so I had to form a new identity. And that's when I found fashion. I'm like, if I could look cool and stay up to date with the latest in fashion and drip. I see your Cactus Jack shirt on, Travis Scott. I see you, man.
Yeah.
But
My man.
if I could
Yeah.
stay up to date, then that's a way of people, engaging with me.
Mhm.
Because, I think through clothing or through fashion and through what you wear, you could express yourself. So if you come outside every day and you look up to par and all of that, it says something about your self esteem
Yeah.
in that aspect alone. Like you willing to clean up nice, so even down to smelling good and stuff like that. People sometimes have a negative perception of people that use wheelchairs as they might not have the best hygiene or something like that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's
I
just a
didn't even think about
perspective,
that.
stereotypical things. Those are stereotypical things us wheelchair users. And then like another thing was like people would say like, no, you're only going to get a girlfriend that's in a wheelchair. And I'm like, nah, my girlfriend is going to be an able-bodied girlfriend. Like that's
Mhm.
just what I chose for myself. Like life
Right.
is still going to continue the same way as it was supposed to. It just might look a little different how I get around, but nothing else is going to change.
Right. Yeah,
And I,
man.
I
I
started
love it.
being selfish with myself and demanding that. That's another point. I demanded, like, I didn't want to be known as Garrison in a wheelchair. No, I want to be known as Garrison that does this, Garrison that does that, Garrison that does this.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And I yeah, I see it. Like when I only know you from social media as of right now,
Yeah,
but it's like you do carry yourself a certain way. I mean, there's definitely swag there. You definitely got the nice
yeah,
clothes and the drip, but it's like you show up with a lot of confidence, and you
yep,
show up open. And I can already tell just by talking to you, there's
yeah,
this light that shines through with you. I think this was always a part of you, but was it a conscious
yep.
thing when you showed up to college and you're meeting these new people? You're like, I'm just gonna show up as big and bold as I can. What are you saying to yourself when you're like meeting all these people for the first time?
So I was always popular going back to prior to my
Right.
injury. So
Yep.
I knew that people would gravitate towards my personality because I have a cool personality. I'm like this all the time, like easygoing. You know, there's a resolution for everything. So if any problem that happens, we could find a resolution or work a way around it.
I love it.
So I knew that I had that part. It's just me finding that part of myself and what would make me find that part of myself. Being that I didn't have football where it's like, oh yeah, you're the football player. That's good. So I felt like if I could be like, the most fashionable or something and, just a cool person that when anybody talked, spoke back, never had an attitude, always carried a smile. I knew that I could navigate through life that way. So like the first semester I went to school, I did like mostly night classes just to ease my way back into things because
Yeah.
I haven't at like this point I haven't been around a lot of people. I was
Right.
just in the hospital like 4 months ago at this point. So it's like
Wow.
what to do, like, so I started with night classes. I saw the adjustment there. I realized that, night classes was a breeze, but it was boring. Like I'm like now 18, 19. I'm like, it's no spark. I didn't get that college spark that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
next
That
semester I
everybody
took
hopes they
day
get.
classes.
Yeah.
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 And I always retained information well. So I took the day classes and then I'm in a cafeteria. And then I remember my friend Ravel came up to me, still my friend to this day. At the time, he wasn't afraid, he was just a stranger. He's like, yo, you mad fly, you the fly guy in the wheelchair. Then from there,
Yeah.
it just led one thing led to the next. So I meet him, then I meet a few others. They like, where you live? I'm like, now I live in East New York. Gay lived in East New York. They like, yo, we going to a party like tomorrow night. What's good, bro? You should come. And I'm like, all right, I haven't been to a club. They don't know that though, because these are completely new friends and strangers.
Definitely.
And I go to the club and I'm like, yo, this is fun. Like it was fun for me. I'm getting all the dances and stuff like that. And it was just a good time. And I was like, all right, this is an adjustment. And I think I've adapted. And from there, it just became like, all right, after school, what we doing today? Where are we going to hang out? What we going to do? What silly things we're going to do? Are we going to like pull a fire alarm and have security chase us or something
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
Whatever, fun stuff.
Oh,
So
right.
like,
Right. Just being a
yeah,
kid, man, just living life.
yeah. And for them to include me in those activities, it was like, all right, so they see me just for me. They're not really seeing the chair. And then like then I started going to parties and like the girls would like the chick. Like they said it was the chick magnet. So then my friends like, yo, you gotta come because if they like you, how we gonna get their friends? Because you gotta be there so I could get the friend. And it just like
Right. Right.
compounded. So like that depression period, I think that I would have been in if I didn't do nothing right after school, right after the hospital. I mean, I think it would have sat in and it would have lasted a lot longer and it would have been something that would have been hard to kick. Because I think with depression, the only way to fight depression is to fight back against it and to do the things that depression is telling you not to do. So it's telling you not to go outside. So that means you need to go outside. It's telling you, not to take a shower today. No, that means you need to take the shower today. And that's how I fought back. So like when I hear other people tell me, their journey, everybody's journey is going to be completely different. It's what works for you. I'm
Right.
like, I think the best thing that happened to me was me just going back out in the world right away and realizing that early on that the world is in a bad place. It used to be girls would write me letters and pass it through the cafeteria in
Okay.
college. Just so it was like that. It was like, yo, this is cool. Like this is the cool.
Yeah.
What do you want? What more do you want
Right,
now?
right. I mean, you're
Like
getting the college experience, and you're right.
yes,
I love what you
yes,
said about depression because I
yeah,
gotta agree with you, man. There's days where I'm like, there's no reason for me to not get out of bed. No one's saying I got to be anywhere. No one's saying I got to go to this job or do this thing or whatever. It's like I could have just sat there all day. And for a long time, my friends would be at work and I could just play video games. I could watch TV, but it was like all day. And I was like,
and it gets boring and tiring. And like,
yeah, for me, it got to
start,
the point where it was like, this is just it's a waste. You know what I mean? Like I'm still alive. And I think for me, it became like, how do I prove that I still can do something? How do I prove that I'm still valuable? And I think for you, even just talking about the homies or the girls passing you letters, it's like they're showing you that you're valuable because they're like, we want you around. We want you to be with us. You make things fun. You make it cool. Obviously, girls giving you attention. I think it's a sign that you're like still desirable. And it's something you can't know unless you're out in the world interacting, right? And I think you were doing that. You were putting yourself out there. You were being brave, and the world kind of gave you something back. It gave you some evidence back that you're like, no, there's still a lot of value in you.
Yeah. And like, so I skipped the part of like, like a lot of people have a struggle with just building relationships. I think I was able to forge that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So it limited my, like, I guess, depressive days. Because there's days, but you want to limit them as much as possible. Everybody goes through a period where they're going to be depressed today, or things are just not going their way and they're a little more anxious than, usual, whatever the case may be. But if you could limit it and don't let it escalate, I think that you could definitely fight back and you could develop more confidence in yourself by just fighting back against depression. Like you could beat anything once you feel like you beat that severe, that funk. Like there was a time where I would be in a house for days and I'm like, bro, like you got to get up, and you got to get out, and do something. So having school to go to didn't give me an opportunity to think so much about my injury. It gave me an opportunity to focus on getting out of school. So I still got to get out of school with my injury no matter what. So let me just focus on school because the injury going to stay there.
Man, that's just incredible. I completely agree with you too. I mean, for me, it's like once I started getting out of my own head and my own sadness and thinking about everything I lost and started thinking about, other people and what I still had to do in life or what I wanted to do in life, it's like, and started just focusing on that. I think it gave me a better direction. So the other thing I think for you that I'm very curious about, like, okay, college is going super well, but I see you now, like the Garrison I knew, I see online, he's doing pull-ups in the wheelchair. He's rock climbing in the gym. How do you start transitioning into this athlete again, this badass and powerlifter and all that? Yeah.
So it's crazy. And I tell people sometimes, like when it's your time, God make you skip the line. So it was just like going to school. Like
wait, say that again. Wait, I love that line.
I got you.
Okay.
When it's your time, God make you skip the line. So he's not going to make you wait in line. You're going to skip that line and go right to the front. So
nice.
So now I did the school thing. I'm like, all right, boom. My next goal was to find a job. I found a job. I'm probably like 4 or 5 years into my injury now here because school took about 3.5. So I'm like, all right, bet now. Yeah. So now, and then I got like selected to like an urban league. Oh, that's what happened. I got selected to like the National Urban League. It's like this Black executive exchange program. So they, identified me as a leader within the community and just with my grades and stuff like that. So now I'm traveling,
You're crazy. Amazing.
Yeah. So now I go to this Urban League conference and it's like some of the top students from HBCUs across the country. And I'm like, I'm here with them. Like me from Brownsville, Brooklyn, who was shot just 4 years ago, is here now with some of the top students and being identified as one of the top students as far as being a part of this leadership program. So I'm like, oh, wow, it's possible. Like, it's really possible. Your life could go so many different routes. You don't know what's going to happen, And even graduating in 3.5 years, people thought like, how did you cut down a semester?
That's what I was saying. That was amazing. That's what I was saying. I was like, damn, like that's like you finished early. On top of it, also like dropping down to having bad grades to like now finishing early. Like, dude, your mindset is incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Like the academic probation thing was just solely partying. Like it just that occurred just because I was just going out every night, going to class and falling asleep. But once that occurred and they tell you you're not going to get financial aid, I'm
Right.
like, all right, let me go get my grades back up. So my grades went right back up immediately. But
It's
now I kept the
amazing.
grades up, but then it was like, all right, I graduated college. That was a task in itself. Like I didn't know I would be able to do. So like
Right.
once I could accomplish that, I'm like, I went through the whole 4 year, 3.5 years in using a wheelchair. Life can't be too bad. I made it this far. Now it's time to get a job. And so yeah, I started working, but working wasn't it. Like I worked a government job. It was terrible. Like I was enclosed all day. There was no windows, none of that. I had to get up at like 4:30 in the morning to be there for 6. But I did not miss a day my first year, just to show my managers and my supervisors, my superiors, that I am capable of working, and
Yeah.
this disability does not hold me back from working. Because a lot
Right.
of times people think your disability affects how you could work, when and theoretically it doesn't. It really doesn't affect your working ability whatsoever, because your work can start in your brain. And there's so much adaptions that are out there and accommodations that are out there to make work successful for you. It's all about, representation, seeing other people at work or doing, work type tasks. Even if you're an entrepreneur, it's the same thing. It's a form of work. And just being dedicated, and it helped me get into a routine, because I said at some point in life, school, you got class here, class there. Your schedule changes. It fluctuates a lot only because your class schedule is never the same each and every day. But
Right.
now I'm in a routine. I got to go to work every day from 6 to 2:30 or whatever the case was.
Hmm.
And I had to show people I could show up just like anybody else and be on time and complete my daily task without complaining, without, you know, you can ask for accommodation, but I don't even think I used an accommodation other than having a table that could elevate.
Okay. Okay.
Other than
Yeah.
that,
Which is,
yeah, other
yeah,
than that,
not a big
it's
deal.
fair.
Truthfully, yeah. I mean, there's
Yes,
people have that who don't have a disability and stuff. So
yeah. I just want to be able to roll under and touch a keyboard. That's
yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly. Which is fair, 100%. So don't let me put words in your mouth. But like, you
Yeah.
get this job. Is there a sense for you that you're like, I don't want to do this because I know what it's like to not have anything, to not have all the possibilities open to me, and it's like, why am I doing this job when it's not like who I am? It doesn't fill me up.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't have no fulfillment in the job. I'll tell everybody, I don't care. I worked for the Internal Revenue Service back in
Oh,
the
you
day.
did? Man,
I left there probably like in
what's the tricks, man? Like,
2015.
what's the tricks so we don't get dinged on heavy
Pay
taxes?
your taxes on time. That's what I
Okay.
tell everybody.
All
That's
right,
the
all
main
right.
trick. There's
That
no loopholes.
cool, perfect. All right, well, we got that covered. All right,
Yeah.
amazing.
So yeah, I was there and it was a depressing job. Like it was nothing I was doing to help other people in my predicament, when I knew that a quarter of the world is living with a disability. And I have the power to change that. I felt it just was an epiphany that came over me. And I was like, now I could probably be an asset to the world than an asset at the IRS, which I don't care about whatsoever. If I
Right.
die, they're going to fill the seat with somebody else.
Right.
So
Exactly.
so maybe I should strive towards a legacy. And like I'm young still. I'm like, all right, what I'm gonna do? Like, so I quit. I quit my job at the IRS. I woke up one day, I came in the next day, I told my supervisor it'll be the last day I'll be here. She says to me, how you just gonna quit? You gotta put in a 2-week notice. I said, not for me, not to not come back here. I just this my last day.
Wow. I love it.
And
It's a power move.
that was it. And it's just something that told me, like something told me you cannot come here again.
Wow.
And from there, I said, let me book a vacation because I need to figure out, and I didn't have a lot of money saved up. So I just said, let me just figure out, like, if I'm on a vacation, I could think clearly if I go by myself. And that's kind of when I started traveling by myself. At that point, I was like, you know what? I'm ready to travel by myself. I don't have to go with friends or anybody anymore.
Yeah.
I know Miami pretty well. It's pretty, easy for me to get around down there. The
Mhm.
roads are smooth, and I said, to hell with it. Booked the vacation. So in 2 days, I was on a plane. But right before when I was in a terminal, right before I boarded my plane, I ran into my godfather I haven't seen at that time in over 15 years. And he
What?
started a clothing brand. Yeah, he
Okay.
started a clothing brand. So I told him, like, yo, I graduated college, catching up in the last 15 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Last time I saw him, I was literally, well, probably not 15. I'm exaggerating. Might have been like 9 at the time because I
Right.
done graduated college, started working.
Did he see you after the accident? Like,
Last time I seen him, I was in the hospital. I was like
the
in the
hospital.
ICU unit.
Wow.
And I asked him, like, yo, you never brought me back my oxtails. He said he was gonna bring me some oxtails. That's like a
Okay.
West Indian dish that we eat back in New York. And he never
I like
bought
it.
it. But I remember he said he was gonna bring it and never bought it. I'm like, what happened to the oxtail?
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, he's like, don't worry about it. I got an opportunity for you. At the time, he was going to Jamaica. I was going to Miami. He said he'll be back in a week. I'll be back in like 5 days. So he's like, I got a photo shoot in 2 weeks for my clothing brand, and I want you to be a part of it. So
Wow.
I'm like, a photo shoot in a wheelchair. I never seen a wheelchair model or nothing like that. I'm like,
Right.
and he's a funny guy, so I'm joking with him. Like, what type of plan? What plan do you have for me? Like,
Right. Yeah,
all
yeah.
right. But I took him up on the offer. So because at that point, I started saying to myself, you miss every shot you don't take. So any opportunity that comes my way, I'm just gonna go for it and figure out how to do it while I'm there. So 2 weeks go by. Time for the photo shoot. I pull up, and it's crazy how life works because the two photographers that was there that day are currently like two of my good friends still to this day, over 10 years later, probably. And
Wow.
like they started their own clothing brand and had lots of success, which also helped inspire me and motivate me to get into the apparel thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, so like I did the photo shoot. And after the photo shoot, those two same photographers, Ben and Justin from MILF Dad, I got to shout out all the time. They're like, yo, bro, we got a clothing line. And they was going more the influencer route. So they're like, yeah, we're going to market through social media, stuff like that. So I'm like, I'm all for it. So they set up a photo shoot probably like a week later. They had this sky blue tracksuit, which was their signature item,
Okay.
and they found a wheelchair at a garage sale. They ended up painting the wheelchair to match the tracksuit that I was going to wear,
All right.
and we did a photo shoot, and it went viral.
Wow.
So now I'm getting like I don't know, it might have got like 10,000 likes. This was before Reels and all of that, like video on Instagram. So now we going viral and people reaching out to me like, yo, we want you in our runway show or in this fashion show. We want
Man.
you a part of this fashion org or maybe doing this photo shoot. So I'm like, oh wow, like things are like changing again.
Yeah.
Yeah, all over that epiphany I had of not wanting to work for the government. So
Right.
I'm
Man.
like, all right, boom. So then I'm there. We do the photo shoot. He like, yo, I got a cool thing. There's this influencer named Fatboy SSE. He's pretty lit at the time. And he like, yo, he want to do a skit with you. So we're gonna get together, we're gonna do a skit. We did the skit. The skit goes viral because this guy got like at the time, he just started doing skits, but he was like over 1 million followers. Now he got like 10
Already?
million.
Wow. This was like
Yeah.
in the early 2010s, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
early. This was early, probably like 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
It was early. It was like mid
Man.
2010s. And
Okay.
so we started doing that. We started running around. I started doing more photo shoots. Like I started really getting into modeling and runway stuff. Throughout that like time span, I meet a lady named Connie Chi. I'll never forget. And she's like, why you never did a TED Talk? And I'm like, at the time, I didn't know what a TED Talk was.
Okay.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, what's a TED Talk? Like, so I go home, start Googling and like TED Talks, and I start seeing all of these inspiring, some people we know, some people we don't know, but they all had innovative ideas on how to change the world.
Right.
So I started Googling how to apply to a TED Talk or be selected. They had an application process. They actually they was having a casting like or showing or a talk rather near me, not too far, like in Long Island. I live in New York City. This would be perfect if I could get selected for it.
Yeah.
So
100%.
I never spoke in front of people or anything in my life. So I do a recording. I had like a shitty iPhone 4 at the time. It was terrible.
Right.
And it's a terrible recording, but my recording basically I pitched like how my life is like lemonade, how life threw me lemons, and I added sugar, water, and ice to make a sweet, refreshing beverage out of a sour fruit. And there
Wow.
you have it. Now my life is like lemonade. And through that, I did my first TED talk. So they selected me. And now it's like, all right, this is the real deal now. And it goes back to shooting. That it just comes back to shooting. I saw the basket opportunity and I was going to shoot at it. And I did that.
All of this is incredible, right? You take
Yeah.
another bold decision. All right, I'm not going to my job. No, I'm not doing 2 weeks. I'm just not
I
going.
quit
This
the job.
yeah,
Yup. I
yeah.
just quit it.
I'm going on vacation. In vacation, you meet
Yup.
your godfather. He all of a sudden sets you on this path with a photo shoot. Meet more people. They blow up. You getting more viral. You get more
Yeah.
opportunities. And then TED Talk.
Then TED Talk. Then TED Talk.
Like that's crazy for
I get
anybody.
selected.
Like that's crazy for
Yeah.
anybody, let alone like all of what you've had to overcome as well. Like this is insane.
Yeah, it's insane. So now I'm starting to find purpose. Like I'm starting to find purpose. Like, is it my purpose to be out there in the world, just showcasing my vulnerability, showcasing my ability, showcasing, my perseverance, my resiliency? That just might be my purpose. I'm like, it doesn't work out when I'm behind a desk. Like it just doesn't work out for me. So
Yeah.
even though I'm a great employee, it's just not what I want out of life. So if
Right.
it's not what I want out of life, then it's never going to work for me. So maybe it is my purpose to be out there or be in the forefront, be more comfortable with, being on camera or taking pictures, whatever the case may be. So I get selected for the TED Talk, but I didn't start the athletic stuff yet. I'm gonna tell you
That's
when
what
I
I was
started the
okay.
athletic
I
stuff.
really want to hear about it because like you've done all this crazy shit already. And we've even got to the part where I know you from, but from the athletics. But
Yeah.
real quick, do you think sometimes you would have never discovered this purpose if your accident didn't happen?
When I look back today, as of today, I would not be where I'm at now if it wasn't for my injury. And it's been this way for at least the last, I say about 8 years. I'm going on 20 years injured in August. So like at least the last 8 years, well, maybe the last five for certain, I would tell people like, people ask me this question, like, what's the first thing you're gonna do if you start standing again and walking? Or do you want to walk or any of those type of questions when they hit me with those, I always tell them like, if I would lose my ability to connect with people from all walks of life, then you got to leave me in a chair. I don't want to stand up if I have to
Wow.
give that up. You feel me? Like
Yeah.
I can't trade that in because that's like the what makes me me. That's what keeps me going. Being able to by helping others, I help myself. So
Wow.
it's just that like helping someone else out of depression. I never go into depression, and things of those type that case, because I know someone's looking up for me to be strong or they want to see me, continue to persevere. And if I go down or feel down or have dark thoughts, then what is it going to do to them? Like, so if you're hope for somebody, so yeah, so
Man.
sports. This
Okay.
how sports came about.
Okay, okay. That was amazing, by the way. I love
Yeah,
that
yeah.
perspective. You're just a leader through and through, man. So
You
yeah,
got to,
I love it.
Sometimes there's people that's just put in this world. Someone told me just to be a leader. Like there's different tasks for everybody. There's different roles for everybody in life, and there's nothing wrong with your role. You know,
Mhm.
that's just who you are. But athletics, I stayed away. I shied away from athletics after my injury because I'm like, I grew up. I was this incredible football player. Had letters to go to different colleges and things of that nature. And if it was taken away from me in a blink of a second, like what I trained my whole life. I put in blood, sweat, and tears, hours working out in the basement or in the gym just to be the best athlete I could be. And then something not even related to athletics, I lose that ability.
Right.
I
Took
don't
it
want to,
away.
I don't want to really put that investment into athletics again, especially at the time a lot of people only pushed basketball on me. And I'm like,
Mm.
I don't want to play basketball. Like it's a team sport. It's going to
Yeah.
take two. What if they don't pass me the ball and I got my own stuff I'm dealing with. So it's going to come out on the court and I don't want it to come out on the court. So I said, if I was to do a sport, it would have to be an individual sport where whatever time I put into it is what I get out of it. I don't have to worry about other people involvement in helping me excel. So with that said, around the same time of the TED Talk, I did the TED Talk first. And my TED Talk was all manifestation. Everything
Okay.
I talked about, if people, out there, if y'all view it, I manifested everything. None of the stuff at the time I've done. And
Right.
that's the craziest thing. So I started talking in the TED Talk how, my goals, as one of my goals was to be a Paralympic medalist one day. I didn't play a sport at the time, mind you.
Right, right. You weren't even thinking about
So
sports
that's
to your
bold.
point. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
play a sport. And I'm saying that. Another one of my goals, I'm like, yeah, I want to be mayor of, New York City. And then it even grew from being mayor. I was like, I think even in the TED Talk, I mentioned how I would love to win a Nobel Peace Prize for,
Ooh,
helping so many people across the world. And then, yeah, just
wow.
throughout that talk, it was just manifestation. Like I was just talking about things that I aspired to do and how I was going to go about doing it. And people thought I did it already. Like, cause
Yeah,
how I just had the plan so concrete and detailed to the, you know,
yeah.
exact everything. So I was like, so then I did the TED Talk. I go to the gym. The reason why I went to the gym because I lost I never got the muscle back from that I had prior to my injury. And I think I was dealing with like a breakup or something. And I'm like, yo, I need something to fulfill my time. It's too much empty air in the day. So I messed around. I signed up for a gym membership. And the crazy thing was I was so anxious about going to the gym because
Hmm.
I didn't know what I could do when I
Right.
got to the gym.
I'm
But
there
I
right
told
now, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna get on the bench, how I'm gonna transfer. These are things that I don't see. I don't see them on social media. I'm not in the gym, so I don't see other people in the chair in the gym. And that's a big issue too. That's still an issue that's plaguing, especially the spinal cord injury community. It's not enough of us that's active. So
Right.
I go to the gym. I'm the only person in the gym. I'm not really worried about the stairs and stuff like that because I already went through school. I already had a job. I had those experiences.
Right.
But the gym became like a safe space. I go to the gym and no lie, everybody at the gym you got to remember, everybody goes to the gym to get better no matter what.
Yeah, they look at themselves.
And yes, so,
Yeah.
I go there and I tell myself, I'm just going to go 15 minutes. I'm going to do this arm ergometer thing I see. I'm going to do that for 15 minutes and I'm out of here.
Right.
I go there 15 minutes. I'm like, all right, day one done. Day two, I go back 15 minutes. By day four, I'm like, all right, let's do 30 minutes. This 15 minutes is nothing. And today I'm going to lift some weights. I'm going to grab a dumbbell today. Then I grab a dumbbell and now I'm doing gym 30 minutes. Now I try to lift a barbell. It's 45 pounds. I couldn't even bench press it at the time.
Wow.
So now I'm like, damn, I can't bench press 45 pounds. That means I need to be here for an hour every day. That doesn't mean I need to take days off. I need to get back to 135. That's a plate on each side.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then eventually the 2 plates, and then eventually the 3 plates where I was at. And I think I could get there. Something in my mind, I started getting stronger. I started being able to transfer into more equipment. And I'm like, oh, this is real. I'm adapting to a world that wasn't made for me. But there's somebody out there that's watching that's going to be like, he made it to the gym. I can make it to the gym. And that's how you get on the bench because I seen how he get on a weight bench.
Yeah.
And then there was other people in the gym like, yo, you need help coming up to me. Like, can I work out with you? You work out hard. And as I was getting stronger, they're
Wow.
becoming impressed to the point where it was like, yo, how did you get to where you're at? Because I'm trying to get to where you're at. I'm trying to get your physique.
Right,
And I'm the
right.
guy in the chair.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I'm
that's
like, and
great.
these are able-bodied people because honestly, I'm like the only person in the chair. I've been going to like a few different gyms, but the LA Fitness I go to in my neighborhood, I'm the only person in the chair that's been going there consistently every
Wow.
day. Well, almost every day for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years or whatever, however long they've been open.
Yeah,
There'll
yeah.
be other people that come one day or so, and that's when the staff be like, "Oh, you got to meet Garrison or whatever," and
Right,
then they don't
right.
show back up. Or even the staff would tell them like, "Oh, this is the way Garrison transfer." I watched him transfer. He's lifting like 290 pounds and stuff like
Wow.
that, and he's
It's
super strong, and
yeah, it's so
it's just
true.
crazy.
Yeah, it's so true. You don't know how like other people are seeing you and how you're affecting people sometimes, right? Like you said, like
Yep.
you knew kind of in a sense that you were gonna be an inspiration, but I'm sure you can't even you didn't think about how the workers there would be like, yo, Garrison is doing it. When a new person comes in, it's like you should be like him. And then it just kind of spreads. But also like
Yeah, facts.
even when you first putting, you're just doing the bar, some people would have been like, I'm weak, I give up. But you told yourself, like, no, I can be better. Like, this is the start. I gotta at least get to 135. I gotta at least get to 205 or what, like you took it as an opportunity, not as like a sign to stop.
That's one of the things like I like to talk about. Like people like to skip steps, and a lot of times in life, people aren't satisfied if they can't do what they used to do. But there's levels to everything. So like you gotta before you could walk, you gotta crawl. And if you can't crawl, I don't think you're gonna walk. And no point intended, but it is what it is. Like you can't get to stair 8 without stepping on stair 1 first. And that's anything in life. That goes for anything. You have to get the foundation first because at some point there's gonna be like a deficiency somewhere along the line because you skipped the foundation.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard to go back and learn the essentials or the simple part, as I would call it. It's because you skipped it. So it's like, Garrison, you want to get to 2 plates, bench pressing 225. Well, first you got to bench press 45.
Right,
And
right.
once you go to 45, you got to make it to 65. And then when you make it to 65, you go to 90. And the faster you can accomplish those little goals, those small steps, you look back at the end of the year, you made a huge step. You made a 240-pound step on the bench press alone. So it's like that's my theory, and that's my plan and my like guide through life
Okay.
is to never skip steps. I try not to skip steps. I try to learn everything inside and out. So that way, at least I will have the knowledge. And if you have the knowledge, and you know it fully, you should be fine. There's nothing you can't do.
Yeah. Man, again, I love it. All this is just, it's inspiring. I'm taking notes. I want to adapt this in my life. All right. How do we get to
Back to sports.
how do we
Yeah.
get to be a Paralympic athlete now?
So boom. So this is how that occurred. So it goes back to remember when I told you when it's your time, God makes you skip the line. So now I'm bench pressing 225 in the gym. My weight is up. And now I'm starting to, think about sports. I'm like, going on the internet, seeing what other sports is out there. Like, cause I gotta be like, I'm saying this to myself, I gotta be one of the most athletic guys in the chair. Like I'm benching 225. I don't weigh that much. At the time, I probably only weighed 120 pounds. Once again, you miss every shot you don't take. So a guy comes up to me, my boy Jason from Wheelchair Sports Federation. He's an able-bodied guy. He walked up to me and was like, yo, you should play wheelchair football with a bunch of us around the city. We do it every, such and such date at such and such time. And I want you to come out. So I'm like, wheelchair football, I don't know about that. If I break something, like what happens in that case? I can't push my chair.
Right,
So I'm
right.
be stuck.
Yeah.
So then you're like, nah, come out. There's tons of sports. And when I go out there, I meet this guy, John Hammer, who's the president of the Wheelchair Sports Federation.
Okay.
And John's been an integral part of my sports development since day one. So he looks at me, he says, yo, you're in amazing shape. You could be a Paralympic medalist one day if you find a sport and stick to it. So I'm
Wow.
like, medalist, like now you're pushing it, bro. Like I don't even play any sports yet. These
Right,
guys been
right.
training for years. He's like, nah, seriously, what are you interested in? There's a lot of field sports, there's track sports. It's up to you. So and then he said, you know what? Let's start off doing some shot put, javelin, and discus since you have a strong upper body. So I'm like, all right, cool. I used to take the train, the subway. Everybody knows about New York City subways. It ain't the most pleasant place to be, especially late at night. But I would take the train from pretty much like the last stop to the first stop from Brooklyn all the way to deep in Manhattan, Washington Heights to the Armory.
Okay.
I would get there and the coach wouldn't show up. So
Oh,
it's like an hour and a half commute. Sometimes it's snowing. Sometimes it's really cold. Sometimes the elevator's not working. I have to get off at one exit, wheel
right.
down a couple of exits and stuff like that.
I
So it's
mean,
like,
I can only think of all the obstacles you have to go through to just get there. And then
so
the coach isn't there. Are you? Like, what?
So
Are you
then
pissed?
exactly. So it becomes super discouraging to me. So I called John back, like, yo, John, like, why would you do that? Like, you see, I'm not the most eager person to do sports, but because you told me that I could amount to something in the athletic world, that's why I'm doing it. And he's like, don't worry about this one, Garrison. It is what it is. But I'm gonna connect you with the best junior track club in the nation, which is the New Jersey Navigators. Shout out to Jim Cuevas. And through competing with the Navigators, well, it's a cool story with the Navigators. So I get to the Navigators practice. The first thing Jim says is like, yo, if you stick with me, you're gonna go places. I'm like, all right. He's like, you see that kid over there? That kid won a gold medal in Rio. You know how much you get for a gold medal? $30,000. You see that
Wow.
dude over there? He just won 2 marathons. He won Boston and Arizona. You know how much you get for a marathon? 15,000 if you come in first place for each marathon that you win. So
Wow.
he's telling me numbers, and I'm like, yo, that's crazy. I'm from like 15,000 when I coming from working for the government. That's like a third of my salary right there, at least.
Right.
You know,
That's a huge chunk of
like
money at one time.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not a lot, but I'm like, that's crazy. And being disabled, and you can make a living off of athletics. I'm like, impossible. With that said, I started doing wheelchair track. I liked it. It was a good sport. However, I wasn't a person that liked 1,500 meters. I didn't have the stamina from that. I'm a New York City guy. I don't 2 blocks. You tell
Right.
me a mile, I'm gonna be like, I need a cab to go a mile.
I
That's just
got
how
you.
we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do the track, and then one day, like an upcoming competition called Tri-States, my coach asked me how much I weighed. I'm like, I don't really know. So he's like, all right, we're gonna figure that out because we got scales and stuff like that. I'm like, that's crazy. Y'all got scales, but if I go to a medical facility, they don't have scales.
Right.
Scales.
Wow.
So it's like that I could utilize,
Yeah. Yeah. I
since I
got
can't
it.
stand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, it's got to be a whole different system and stuff, but that's great.
So then I'm like, all right, boom. So we get that. He's like, yo, get it squared away. I weighed 123 pounds in my first competition. I lifted 250 pounds. And then Team USA sent me an email, and by the following week, we was pretty much scheduling to go. I ignored the email first, to
Okay.
be
Okay.
completely honest. I ignored the email because I saw Team USA and I said they must be trying to sell me something, or
Oh,
nobody gets
okay.
hit up by Team USA. Like,
Right,
that's
right.
impossible.
Yeah. Did you think it
So
was a scam
I
or you thought they were like
yeah.
trying to sell you like a new kid or I don't know,
Yeah, or
opportunity?
try to sell me like Team USA apparel or something like
Okay.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I do a lot of shopping on Nike, so maybe they got mine, whatever.
Right, right.
So the following week, my coach is like, "Yo, Garrison, Team USA been trying to get in contact with you. You haven't been, you never reached back out to them. Like, what's going on? You're not interested?" Like, I'm like, "This is real? Like, this is real, Team USA?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah," and I advise you to contact them back immediately. So I contacted them back. One thing led to the next. They flew me out to Colorado Springs. Out there, I was able to lift 275 pounds while in the Springs at the Olympic training
Wow.
facility. But just me coming from where I came from to now being at the Olympic training facility where Michael Phelps trained
Yeah.
at the time I was there, the first time I was there, a lot of the boxers that are established now was like up and coming. So like Shakur Stevenson, Terrence Crawford would run the hills out there. Clarissa Shields was out there at the same time. Tons, all of these great athletes, great Olympians was out there. We was all out there together, and I met them, and even gymnastic athletes. Like there was a few dudes that competed, in the Olympics, and when I got to see them, it was like, yeah, I see like Kyle Young and stuff like that. But
All right.
it's just inspiring to know, like, yo, you came from far. Like looking back now, you starting to look back like, wow, you did this, you did that. Like these are
Yeah.
things that,
And look at the people you're with now. Like it's the
yeah,
upper echelon of athletes. Yeah, in their
you're
fields
here
and
now.
yeah.
Exactly. Then I made Team USA like around that same time, like 2018. There was a qualifier. I showed up to a qualifier and made it on my first qualification. And then it's been history with the powerlifting ever since then. And then I started climbing for Team USA and rock climbing, and that story is pretty much the same as powerlifting. I showed up in Oakland, California, back in February. I probably climbed the rock wall maybe like one time. I didn't know what I was doing. And
Yeah.
like, I didn't know there's a thing as like a double rope and a single belay and all of that. I don't even know how to tie my belay.
Oh, right, right.
And it,
Yeah, that's a skill
yeah,
all in itself, man. Yeah, you gotta
yeah.
take a special class for it and everything. Yeah, I have no idea. I see people do it, but I'm like, I can't. I'm not gonna learn that. Like, hook me up.
So then, yeah, so from there, yeah, I started I made the climbing team. Everybody's like, oh, like I started climbing. I finished fourth in that climbing tournament, and I made the national team on my first try. And everybody was like, how long you been climbing? And I was like, today is my first day.
That's insane. That's
But
crazy,
yeah, through the powerlifting training and just naturally being an athlete, it was like second nature for me.
man. You're just an
Yeah.
amazing guy, and I think it speaks to your dedication, but just the ability that you show up, and it's the effort that you probably put in. I think we're nearing the end here, and
Okay.
I just want to like just dive a little bit more into what you're doing now because you were just
Yeah,
training.
yeah.
Like, well, I'm talking to you, you're coming from Utah, you're in Alabama today. Like, what do you have
Yep.
coming up now?
All right. So I just qualified to go to World Championships in Seoul, Korea, and that's for paraclimbing, Team USA paraclimbing.
Wow.
Um, I just competed in Utah. That's where I qualified to go to World Championships in Korea. Right now, I'm currently in Alabama. I go home. I do go home at some point for like a day or two, usually. But I'm in Alabama to qualify to go to Egypt World Championships in powerlifting. Korea would be in September, powerlifting would be in October. So luckily, these two competitions won't intercross with each other, where I
Yeah.
have to leave one early or whatever. But
Does the
also,
training like work for both? Like if you're training for
yeah, so
powerlifting,
a
it
lot.
helps with the rock climbing?
Yeah, so powerlifting training helps with the rock climbing, because a lot of the movements are similar. It's for power, especially when you climb without the use of your legs. It's a lot of campus in the wall, so you should have a really good, strong upper body, pretty good back strength because it's a lot of back that you're using, a lot of forearm strength,
Yeah, yeah.
and shoulders. So which is all, and the forearm strength and those body parts help in powerlifting as well because you're going to have strong forearms in powerlifting to take some of the tension off the triceps and things of that nature. So
Yeah, that's cool,
they
man. It's like cross
correlate.
training then. You're kind of
Yep,
like,
it's cross training. It is a form of cross training. So yeah, they both complement each other, which is amazing. Also, I got a Positive Spin, the talk show, where I bring incredible guests on. I hope to have you on one day too,
oh
bro, if you
man,
ever come to New York City.
that'd be an honor.
And it's all about individuals that's out there and not letting the society define who they want to be. It's you defining who you are and who you want to be and what you want to give off
Right.
into the world. And I think that everybody has a little bit of positivity in them, even if they don't want to be positive. Or even if you have a little, you could come listen to the Positive Spin talk show. It's on YouTube. And you can gain something from it. You can learn that, everybody goes through something. Everybody is going through something, you know,
100%.
and tough times don't last, tough people do. Also, I
Yep.
got Red's Denim, the clothing line. It's designed with everybody in mind. So it's universally designed for able bodied and disabled individuals. It has functionality that able bodied individuals wouldn't even notice that is to accommodate individuals with disabilities. So a lot of things on the jeans look cool, but have a dual purpose. So make sure y'all shop redsdenim.com. I'm also an author, so I got children's books out on inclusivity, Bobby's Adventure at a New School, Bobby's Adventure at an Amusement Park. Yeah, and all of this is under garrisonred.com, but you can also just Google Garrison Red or follow me on Instagram at Garrison Red. And, I have all my channels there. I have the nonprofit, the Garrison Red Project, where I still take people out swimming, skydiving, skiing, water skiing.
What?
We do incredible
Do it
activities.
all, man. Yeah, all right. We might have to try to
Yeah,
when I eventually link up with you, we're gonna have to pick one of those
yeah.
things. At least get a workout in. You gotta show me what's up.
Yeah, 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 definitely. So, and then we'll have a part two.
Yeah,
Talk
exactly.
about the extreme workout or whatever.
100%, man. Okay, so there's
Yeah,
two
man.
questions I ask everybody, and
Yep.
I want to end with these. So, one thing right now, what is giving you the most peace?
What's giving me the most peace? the fulfillment that I know that I'm making a difference in this world. The people that I'm connecting with, the Instagram DMs I get, the text messages I get, because I also I mentor and coach like newly injured individuals. That's one of the things I do at Mount Sinai. I'm also the coordinator there for their outreach program. So, with that, I go and visit people from day one, sometimes of their injury or whatever, very newly in the onset of their injury. And, I tell them like, life is going to go on. You're going to adapt and you're going to push through some
Yeah.
way, somehow. And I'm be there every second. Like I always tell people, I'm going to hold your hand every way. A lot of people not going to hold your hand. I'm going to hold your hand.
Oh,
And then I'll let
man.
go when I think you don't need your hands held anymore.
Man, you're a real
Yeah.
hero, man. I mean, I honestly, I think that's just wonderful. And yeah, the world needs more people like you. The second question I
Yeah.
feel like you kind of answered, which is, what would you tell somebody at their lowest moment right now? They're at their waking up in the hospital and they know that their whole life's changed. But I feel like you kind of answered it. Do you
Yeah,
want to
I
expand on
kind
it?
of did, but I'll give another little answer to that just directly. I tell people you can't stay stuck, man. You can't stay stuck. Because if you stay stuck, the world is going to pass you and you're going to be looking back. 5 years going to go by and you're going to be like, wow, I missed out on so much just because I wasn't willing to adapt. I tell people all the time, that's up to you whether you're going to accept the injury or not. But as far as adapting, that's up to me, to you to figure out what's the best way for you to adapt and how you're going to adapt.
Yeah.
I can help you with that. The acceptance part, I can't, that's between you and yourself.
Yeah. Man. Okay,
Yeah.
everything you said today, Garrison, it's been a pleasure to have you on, brother. You are
My
so
pleasure, man.
inspiring.
Thank you.
You're just incredible. You're a light out there. You're helping so many people. It's truly an honor to speak to you, man. I'm gonna be rooting for you. And one of these days
Yeah,
we're
definitely.
gonna have to link up in person again and figure
And
out like
even
a workout.
if I'm at LA or San Diego, I'll come out and holler at you. My boy Rudy is also, I think, in San Diego doing stuff with the Challenge Athletes Foundation. They're based out in San
Yeah,
Diego. So yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
They are, man. We're gonna
Yeah,
do it.
it's gonna happen.
Yeah. All right, brother. Well, thank you so much,
All
man.
right, thanks,
Best of
man.
luck. Yeah, we're gonna catch you later.
All right.
Aloha. Garrison Redd is living proof that with purpose and persistence, anything is possible. His story reminds us that resilience isn't just about bouncing back, it's about rising into new heights you never knew were possible. If this conversation resonated with you, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the episode on all your favorite podcast platforms. It helps us more than you know. And for behind the scenes content, weekly inspiration, and highlights from each episode, make sure to follow us on all social media at SickBurnPod. Thanks for listening to the Sick Burn Podcast. Aloha.